Thank you. Okay. My name is Dora Sparza. I am the SBDC's childcare specialist and business advisor. Believe it or not, it's very rare to find somebody that specializes in early childhood business practices, and I'm one of the few, but hopefully the helpful. So I support childcare providers in the essential business skills for childcare administrators program. I have more than 20 years of ECE administration and relationship-based coaching experience. So basically what I do is help directors understand their budget, how to market, how to lead so people don't quit, those kinds of things. So I help kind of build that strong business system. I do care about like the softer leadership type of like fuzzy things and also like the hard business aspects. So hopefully this class is kind of a good combination of both. And then I also do a lot of work around CCAP, legislation, policies that are happening. I don't like to, but it's important in ECE funding. So there's a lot of work in that area to be done. I'm gonna let Raul kind of go through these account creations when he gets in here. The PDIS accounts, things like that, he'll kind of go over that stuff. Most of you guys probably have a PDIS account. So I'm gonna let him do those things because that's not as fun as what I do. This is kind of a video. Oh, it's very exciting. Okay. This is a video about the early childhood councils and kind of what they do. So no matter what county you live in, you're served by a council. And so that is kind of what the councils do. I will watch this. Somebody tell me if you can hear the audio in this thing. Yes. Can you guys hear it okay? Good.
Dora, I heard you, and I thought that's what you meant by the audio, but I can't hear the lady on the screen.
Okay, that's fine. I can explain basically what she's saying. And then when you go through and look at the slides, you can also watch this if you want to. Basically, the early childhood councils facilitate money from the Department of Early Childhood out to childcare providers. So like sometimes there's grants for things, there's quality funding. Sometimes the local licensing department will have a grant to fix things. So basically the councils are kind of the in-between between the state and the providers. They also do some coaching services and things like that. So if you haven't tapped into your council that's in your area, it'd be really helpful to do that. You can just like Google early childhood council for blank county, and it will tell you who your council is. And then just kind of call them and get to know them, see what kind of resources they can give you. But it really is a hub for a lot of different resources, both for families and for childcare providers. And each council kind of does different things. So that's basically what she's explaining. All right, we get started. So this course was created in a partnership between the Colorado SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers, and CDEC, which is the Colorado Department of Early Childhood. So they're kind of trying to partner to create more business services and business trainings for childcare owners and operators and directors. So we're going to kind of go over strategies for attracting families, marketing stuff, enhancing efficiencies, really looking at how to make a profit and kind of more of the harder parts of that business operations. Practical tools, how to have a good network, how to maybe get some things that you might not be able to afford, like, your website, things like that, and how to kind of get, some buy-in into your program. This course also meets requirements for your PDIS credential, and so that will help you as well. So you do get PDIS points for taking this training. So we know that your expertise is on how to care for children. Nobody got into this business wanting to do policies and procedures and yell at parents for being late and yell at staff for doing dress code. Like, just nobody wants to do that. A lot of you didn't get into this to have to be buried in a spreadsheet and a budget and all that stuff. So we're really trying to think about, how can you guys get the business understanding and experience to be able to run your business well, knowing that many childcare owners and directors don't really like this part, but you have to be in business to serve children, and that's kind of where this overlaps. So there's a couple different sessions here. There's 3 virtual sessions, so we'll have the same Wednesdays from 6 to 7:30 for the next 3 weeks. And then the fourth week, we'll kind of do like a Q&A, resources, things like that. So in addition to that, you also want to do advising. Your first advising session will be with me. I'm not scary. But if you're like, I have a specific thing for my business or my, program, we do whatever, and I want help with that, I am your person. If you want to start a program and you're like, I don't know where to start, but I want to start a program, I can help with that too. So definitely between now and next Wednesday, set up an advising session with me. We'll put the link at the end of this training for that so that you can set that up. But do try to come with questions. If you're like, I don't really know how to do a budget, or I have this template in this class and it's not super helpful. Whatever that is, do come with questions, because that does help us kind of figure out where we're going to navigate and what we're going to talk about. Raul, can you also put the link to set up an advising session with me in the chat as well? And then there's also another advisor at the SBDC named Jesse, and he can really help you with kind of that financial piece, and that's really his specialty. So between now and next week, meet with me so we can kind of figure out where you're at and how I can support you. And then after next week, for the financial training part, you want to set up with Jesse. So that is kind of how we're going to go. And then when we wrap up, you'll meet with me again one more time. We'll figure out next steps. And then you can always access any of the network in the SBDC because you took this training. And I think that's something that I don't see people take as much advantage of as they should. Talking to a financial expert is like $150 an hour. This is all free because it's through the SBDC's partnership with CDAC. So you guys can come to however many advising sessions you want, see whatever advisors you want. If you need marketing help specifically, or if you want to start a program and you need help with that, whatever that is, do take advantage of the advisors here, because that is a huge benefit to taking this course. Like, there's good broad overviews, but when it gets really specific into your business, you want that specialist that can really give you the time to understand where you're at and how to really support you where you're at. So I can't say that enough, because then people take this class and I never see them again, and I'm very sad, and I take it personally, and I cry, and it's going to be fine. But do keep coming to the SBDC and do use these resources, because it's really, really helpful. And it keeps you connected to a business network, which kind of still keeps your mind on that business aspect. That's my TED Talk for that. So today we're going to talk about setting up your business. The next time we'll talk about finance, and then the third time we'll talk about marketing, and then we do some resources and some Q&A stuff at the fourth session. You need to attend the entire virtual session and complete all 3 hours of advising in order to get credit for this course. So do make sure you're setting up those advising sessions, because that part is going to be really important for you. Any questions on any of this or how this works? We're good? Okay. I don't want to hear myself talk for an hour and a half, and I don't feel like you guys do either. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat or just unmute and speak up and be like, but what about this? Like, do interact with me. Otherwise, it's just me trying to entertain myself and keep you guys awake for an hour and a half, and it's a lot. So do engage if you feel the need. All right. So today Lori thinks I'm funny. Thank you. Yes, I tried. Setting up your business. So we're going to talk about registering your business, your license, building a strong foundation to operate confidently in Colorado. Business laws do change, business practices change. So all that stuff is really important to kind of keep up on. We go over the HR foundation, so the basics of hiring, managing employees, and then staying compliant. Even if you don't have an HR team, just what are the basics you need to know so that you can keep yourself covered. And then we also cover financial basics, so bookkeeping, how to manage your money, and really how to keep your business as healthy as possible financially. Because if you're not financially healthy, then you're not able to watch any children because you're out of business, and that's bad. So throughout this course, it'll build a solid foundation for your business. It'll help you understand the legal requirements, insurance, licensing, and then hopefully build a solid foundation for your business. Or if you've been in business for a long time, just helping you kind of rethink about, I haven't looked at my budget since I did it last year and it's April. Maybe I should look at that again. Or I just did my taxes and I maybe wasn't paying as much attention last year as I should have with my profit or my costs or something. So I'm going to really kind of buckle down in that area. So you can be in business for a long time, but it's still good to kind of revisit those things and make sure that you're really paying attention. You don't need to be an expert. You just need the right tools. And I would say along with needing the right tools, you need the right people. Like you don't need to be great at accounting if you have a good accountant, but you also need to know enough to know if your accountant's running off with your money. So, or if something's looking kind of weird. And just being networked, knowing who to turn to if you have questions on different things is immensely helpful. There's something about early childhood programs, directors, owners, administrators that they are like very siloed and very like kind of independent and don't have an easy time trying to find other people to talk to in this industry and try to explain and understand the challenges that everybody has. So this is a safe space for that because we all have the same issues in this industry. So steps to legally establishing your business. Can I just see in the chat, put a 1 if you already are in business and then a 2 if you want to start a business, just so I can kind of understand where you guys are. So 1 if you're already in business and a 2 if you want to start a business. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Oh, good. Okay. We've got like a good mix. All right. So we're going to kind of talk through these steps of legally establishing your business. So the first one's going to be to identify your business structure. We'll talk about that. How to apply for an EIN number. You're going to need that. And then if you pay individuals or you have employees, they're going to need that as well. If you're a nonprofit in Colorado and you get donations, they're also going to need that number as well. Register your business with the Colorado Secretary of State. We'll talk through how to do that. And then we'll go through getting insured and licensed. It's thrilling stuff. Okay. So this is kind of the overview of the different models that there are of business structures. I'm not going to spend super long talking about the ones that are kind of rare, but they do exist. You can be a sole proprietor, which is very easy to set up, but you don't have a lot of protection if somebody does decide to sue you or a child gets hurt or anything like that. Like there's very little protection with that. A partnership is easy, but also not a lot of protection with that either. A corporation can be complex but powerful. Like then you need kind of that board, you have a lot of accountability, and that's usually where we're seeing like the chain programs like KinderCare or Primroses. Those organizations fall under corporations. So what we see the most often is an LLC, and that is kind of flexible. It's not super difficult to set up, but it does have a fair amount of protections in it. And we know in early childhood, there's a million things that can go wrong on any given day. So really having that set up as a limited liability helps you to be able to protect yourself. So that's generally what we see most often in early childhood. So once you've decided what model you want to go with, then you apply for an employer identification number. That is your EIN number. So it's a unique permanent number that's assigned by the IRS. It's basically like your organization, your business's social security number. Like it is that identification number that is used and identifies your business. That'll be on your tax forms. And then if you hire employees, you need that. If you form a partnership or a corporation, and if you file different kind of specific tax returns. There's also a fair amount of parents, if you're a nonprofit, that will want to donate to you. And then some parents are able to deduct some of their childcare costs through taxes. And if they do that, they're also going to need that EIN number from you as well. So that you can apply at irs.gov, and that does not have a cost associated with it. So that's a pretty easy thing to kind of get to. Then you want to register your business with the Colorado Secretary of State. Register a unique business name and get your certificate of good standing. So it's really kind of fun if you feel bored and creative. You can go on to the Colorado Secretary of State website and just type in different names and see what's taken and what's not taken. Additionally, you really, when you're naming your business, like look around you. If there's like little feet on the corner or a mile away from you, you probably don't want to call yourself like little toes. Just don't do that. I've also seen people that name things like, ECE Academy. And it's like if a parent doesn't know what ECE is, or they haven't heard it called that, or they have an infant and they have not experienced ECE yet, they might not know what that means. And academy can feel like kind of fancy. So we'll get to this more in marketing, but do kind of think about, what your business name says, how creative you want to be, and really what that says to parents that are looking for different kind of childcare options. So if you're a nature-based program, you might want to call it, Little Trees or Little Explorers or something like that. If you do a Montessori method, you might want to call it something else that kind of lends itself a little bit better to Montessori. But do try to avoid like abbreviations in your name. Don't make your name too long. I see a lot of people try to do like cutesy spellings of things, like they spell Einstein wrong, and I'm like, I don't know if that's cute or if that's just going to make it harder for people to find you. So spend some time really thinking about what you're going to name your business because it does have an impact on how the community views you, how people driving by view you when you market to both staff and potential employees and parents. All those people, like that name means something. So do spend some time really thinking about that and make sure that you think of something that's really a good representation of the business that you're trying to create. But this name search on the Colorado Secretary of State website will tell you what names are taken and which ones aren't, because you do need a unique name. Get insured and get licensed. It's so much fun, this one. Okay, so there's a lot of different kinds of insurance that you can get in early childhood. Some are best practices, like general liability insurance. Any business wants to have general liability insurance. It protects against financial loss as a result of bodily injury. If somebody slips on your front sidewalk, property damage if somebody comes by and breaks a window because they're trying to take something, or a car goes into your house. Medical expenses, libel, slander, defending lawsuits, and settlement of bonds or judgments. So those are just best practice in business to have some of these. There's a lot of examples of insurance here, and we'll go through all of them. I will also say you have to find a balance between where it makes financial sense for you to get a policy and when it doesn't. Like there's sexual assault policies that you could have to cover your business. Does everybody need that? I don't know if everybody needs that. I mean, some family childcare homes might not need that, but you really do want to think about it because insurance salespeople will try to sell you all the insurance and you might not need everything. But this chart kind of helps you be mindful of like, yeah, that does make sense, or like, no, that doesn't make sense. So for example, on here we have product liability insurance. And since you guys don't make a product, you probably don't need that. Professional liability insurance that provides coverage for malpractice. Doctors have it. You guys don't really need that either. Commercial property insurance. So this is something if you do have a large commercial business, like a large childcare center or your Primrose or something like that, then you might want to have that. It covers damage due to smoke, wind, hailstorms, vandalism, things like that. Home-based business insurance is for businesses that are run out of your personal home. So that's more for family childcare home providers. And it's coverage that's added to your homeowner's insurance so that you can get kind of a protection for your home-based business. So that can be really helpful if you're a family childcare home, and it's definitely something to think about. And then a business owner's policy is for small business owners, but especially home-based businesses. And that kind of just bundles up all of your insurance options and can simplify things so that you can save some money. But do you think really, because insurance people will try to sell you all kinds of stuff. They'll be like, you need a hail damage insurance policy and you need just all kinds of things. Like take some time, look at the packages they can offer you. If you transport children, you might want some additional insurance coverage for your vehicle. So kind of think through like what you really need and what you don't need. And just be careful because there's a lot of salesy insurance people. So just make sure you're keeping in mind what's best for you. So get insured and get licensed. You've got your business, you've got your name, you have it registered, you have your EIN number, which is basically your business's social security number. You've got insurance. So you've got all that stuff together, and then you need to comply with the licensing requirements from the Department of Early Childhood. Here's some more information about picking these business structures. Again, the sole proprietorship, there's not a lot of personal liability protection for you. We don't see that too often in ECE. The limited liability company that we do legally see, and it basically is separating you from your business. So somebody can come after your business because maybe a child got hurt, a child got injured, somebody fell. There's so many things. You guys know all the things. But they can go after your business for that, but they can't come after you personally. And that's where that LLC piece is important. Because if you're a sole proprietor, you have no protection if somebody comes to sue you because they're coming for you. They're not coming for your business because you and your business are not separate. So that's why that LLC piece is important. A partnership, a shared business ownership and responsibility between two or more people. That can be, I know a lot of teachers that want to go into business together. Just because you are a partnership or you want to sell your, want to own your business jointly, that doesn't mean that you can't form an LLC. So you can have two teachers that want to start a program and they can still make an LLC. You don't need to have to do a partnership just because that's kind of how you're modeled at the moment. And again, that doesn't offer probably as much liability protection as you would want in EC. And then you have different corporation models. Again, those are really for larger programs or ones that are kind of a bigger network. So sole proprietor, we're really getting into this. The most common form of legal structure for many new businesses, not specifically ECE. Again, you are the business. It's easiest to form this one. It's low cost, minimum paperwork, but again, there is no protection. You still need to file your name with Secretary of State, and this doesn't get a certificate of good standing. So just maybe don't think about that one as much. An LLC protects your personal assets, your tax liability. You can choose to be taxed as a sole proprietor, a partnership, or an S corp. And it's recommended for most small businesses. So that LLC, again, making you and your business two separate entities. And a partnership has two or more owners, shared decision-making and profits. And then that has that personal liability unless you make it an LLC. Like the moral of the story is you probably want an LLC. Because if me and my friend Joe decide we're going to start an early childhood program, there's two of us and we can do shared decision making. That's great. And we're like, yeah, we're going to make a partnership. But if anything happens, they're going to come after Joe and I and not our business of little toes. So that part is really, really important. And then that corporation, which is really those larger entities. So Bonnie Blue is starting a flower shop in Sterling called Poppy's Petals. She'll be the only owner and wants to keep taxes simple. She's not interested in formal board meetings or complicated record keeping, but she does want to protect her personal assets. Down the road, she may bring on a business partner or even sell the shop. Which model should she do? Not everyone at once now. LLC. That's a great answer. Yes, yes. So Bonnie's priorities are protection, simplicity, and flexibility. An LLC gives her all three: a limited liability to protect her personal finances, easy tax handling, and the freedom to expand or plan an exit later. Great. We do hear some comments sometimes about S corps, which is not a legal structure, but it's a tax classification. You guys probably have a tax person. If you don't, you might want to think about getting one. It's not super expensive, and if you use the same person every year, they're familiar with your income, your taxes, all those kinds of things. So these are the different entities as we talked about. The similarities are that LLCs and corporations can elect to be taxed as S corps or C corps. So it's really just a tax classification. Your tax person will probably be able to talk to you more about that and which model might benefit you the most. Again, here is your EIN number. It protects your social security number. So just like we talked about with you being, I'm Dora and I have Dora's little toes, it protects my social security number because I'm giving people that EIN number. Whereas if it was just me, I would give them my social security number, and I don't really want to do that. I'm going to give them the business's social security number because that's protecting my information. You also need that EIN number to open a business bank account, and it's going to appear on a lot of documents. So just kind of know that. Again, business names must be unique. You need to type the name exactly as you want it to appear for the Secretary of State's office. So Little Sprouts LLC might not be available, but the Little Sprouts is. But again, check for names that sound too familiar, especially if they're in your neighborhood. I've seen a lot of like stepping feet, stepping stones, stepping toes, stepping bricks, whatever. I've seen a lot of things that are all in the same part of town, and it's very difficult to really, differentiate yourself from the other businesses when the names are so similar. So here's that data search that you can do on the Secretary of State's website. just to make sure that you do have that unique name. If you do go to that website, you'll also see a fair amount of different things you can do. You can, try to figure out different names you might be able to do. You can search availability for the name. You can search the business database. You can file documents on here. Like there's a fair amount of stuff on here if you're super fascinated by the Secretary of State's office. So here are some bonus tips to protect your business. Make sure that you have passwords. All your business records are having a password so that you can keep them secure, especially if it's like the business documents from forming your LLC. You want to put those in a secure place, but you also want to give a person a password just in case anything happens and you need somebody to be able to access those. You can add authorized users to different accounts if you need to, but just make sure that you trust them, and then they can manage stuff for you as well. And then don't forget to automatically or annually renew your Secretary of State's certificate. I have an LLC and I've forgotten to do this because I didn't get email, and then it was like way more expensive than it normally would have been. And now I'm really good about remembering because otherwise it's like twice as much. So put something in your calendar. Theoretically, they email you, but like do really make sure you do that because it will cost you if you aren't renewing that certificate of good standing every year. Okay. True or false? You must file your periodic report every 2 years. Like thumbs up, thumbs down. I think it's every year. The Secretary of State sends automatic reminders when a report is due. Annually, you should get an email. Yes. You can add multiple authorized users to your business account. Just be aware of who you're authorizing on that account because they can access those things. If you forget to renew on time, your business stays active. It will be not in good standing if you don't renew that good standing certificate, and people look at that. So you do want to make sure that you're getting that renewed every year. Cool. Aha. Here's the answers. Cool.
Sorry, can you go back to that last slide?
Yes.
What is the SOS sends automatic reminders when the report is due? Like what report?
So the Secretary of State will send you a reminder when you need to renew your certificate of good standing. So let's say that last year I registered my business, Little Toes, and I did that April 1st. I registered my business. April 1st of next year, I also need to renew that. So it needs to be renewed every year. So they'll try to send you a reminder to renew it. If you don't renew it, then you have to pay a late fee.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't done it, so now I'm like, oops.
Well, now you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a business license or like your driver's license. Those things renew every however often. This renews every year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep. Great question. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about insurance. So your structure offers some liability protection. As we said, it separates you from your company. Insurance adds additional coverage for risks and employees. So if you are worried about a child getting assaulted, or you want a child abuse insurance, or I've seen providers get cybersecurity insurance. Like if you think you need that, go ahead. But do just be aware and mindful of what is essential for your business based on how you're operating and what might not be important. If you do have very extensive parent files and parent social security numbers and stuff in your database for some reason, which would be kind of weird, but if you had that, then you might want cybersecurity insurance. So just kind of think about how you operate and what you really need versus what you might not need. So insurance adds additional coverage for risks and employees. You are required to have workman's comp and unemployment insurance if you have an employee. So if you don't have an employee, you don't need to worry about that. Assess your risks and think about what you couldn't afford to cover. So if there is a hailstorm and I have pretty good, house insurance, homeowners insurance, and I'm running a childcare business out of my house, I might not need disastrous weather coverage in addition to that because it's probably already covered under my homeowner's insurance. So just think about what you have and what you might need to be covered in. If there is, a cybersecurity leak and somebody sues you because their social security number is somewhere on the dark web, would you be able to afford to pay for that? Would you not? What are the odds that certain things are going to happen? Because again, you can get insurance for anything. I mean, that one lady was a lady, Tina Turner. She insured her legs. You can insure anything, but do you need to? That's really what you have to think about. What are the odds you're going to run into that? If there was a tornado that came down the street, would you be prepared for that? Those kinds of things. So do just spend some time really thinking that through. Find a licensed agent who understands your business. If you guys ever need somebody that specializes in early childhood business insurance, I have somebody that I can send you guys to that can help with that specifically specializes in early childhood, and they're working with ECLA, the head of all the councils, to really try to figure out how to best serve childcare programs. So if you're interested in that, send me a message and let me know. Compare prices, shop smart. Again, shop smart. You don't need everything. Don't let them sell you every policy out of the moon because you probably don't need that. But do think about what the smart coverage is to have. Then renew your coverage annually as your business grows. So if you've expanded or you've added on another room or something like that, you might need to have additional coverage that you didn't initially have. Okay, licensing. This is everybody's favorite. So getting licensed is the first and most important step to opening a childcare business in Colorado. Licensing, even after you open, will continue to come around and do inspections. If something happens, they'll come out and check on your program. Operating without a license can lead to big, big problems and definitely getting shut down. You can't operate without a childcare license unless it's under a certain amount of children or for certain situations. So do just be mindful of that piece. Unless you're legally exempt, you must obtain a license based on your program type. An exempt provider is somebody who's caring for children in their home that is 4 or fewer children. So if you're watching 4 children in your home, your friends' kids, your neighbor's kids, whoever, if you're watching 4 or fewer children, then you don't need a license. But if you're watching 5 or more, then you do. So just be aware of that piece. And then your license will determine how many children you can serve, staff qualifications, and all those other pieces. So you can begin with the Colorado Department of Early Childhood's Licensing and Administration webpage. The licensing rules and regulations are 280 something pages long. So sometimes it can be helpful if you want to use a ChatGPT or an AI to say, look through the Colorado Department of Early Childhood's licensing rules and regulations and tell me what page I can find the diapering policies. Because then it can kind of help you search through that. I think there might be a search feature as well in the document, but it's going to lead you to a bunch of different places everywhere the word diaper appears. So that may or may not be helpful, but it is kind of lengthy, and you can use AI to help you really sort out the pieces that you need. What is the square footage for a toddler as per the Colorado Department of Early Childhood's rules and regulations? It will tell you that answer. Because searching through all those pages is rough. That webpage also has helpful resources. They have forms. If you want an example of a child general health appraisal form, they have that. If you want a copy of an immunization form, they have stuff like that. So it really does have a lot of really good resources, and it's helpful to take the time to really go through that. Meet your specialists. So soon, a lot of the licensing specialists are going to go to the state. Right now, there's a couple different agencies that are doing licensing. So Arapahoe County has its own agency. Other pieces of the state have their own as well. But you do have a licensing specialist, and they can offer free consulting sessions to help you choose what the right license would be that you want to apply for. They'll answer your questions and kind of guide you through the requirements. One of the things they don't do is walk through properties with you. So if you're looking at a property and you're trying to figure out will this work? What do I need? Talk to me about that in your advising session so that we can talk about what you need to look for. Because you need a certain amount of sinks, a certain amount of square footage. It's a whole thing. So if you are looking to open a center and you're looking at physical spaces, let me know that when we meet so we can talk about what you can look for. And then once you get licensed, regularly check your paperwork, staff files, and training records. I would say like 80% of the licensing findings usually revolve around these things. Like somebody's there and they don't have a physical, somebody's there but they haven't gotten their immunizations, you're missing, something for an employee. It's usually almost always related to paperwork. There's a public resource drive that you can look for checklists, tools. There's a health and safety checklist on there. Some of the licensing rules for centers will have, all the outlets need to be covered and all the cabinets need to be locked and things like that. So there's some little checklists that you can get that will help you kind of go through and really think about like what the health and safety aspects are for licensing. And if you need those resources in Spanish, there's a folder for some of that too. And then you want to make sure that you're being proactive. I have seen programs that have called licensing when they didn't need to, just to say, hey, this is something that happened. Do I need to report it? Do I not? They're generally on your side and are trying to help you. So, and if all else fails, just kind of call and ask them one question. Okay, so these are the top 10 in-home licensing violations. So if you own a family childcare home, expired health statements for children, hazardous items that are accessible to children, that could be plastic bags, that could be the oven knob, that could be all kinds of things. A bottle of Tylenol, expired emergency medical authorization forms, immunization status or exemption form for the child is missing, standard precautions training, child abuse training, immunization training, shaken baby abusive head trauma training, the provider's health statement, and then safe sleep training. So a lot of these trainings that you're seeing here are required by licensing and they need to be done every year or every other year. And a lot of those that are required by licensing are available on PDIS. So like that shaken head trauma training, like that's on PDIS. If you have parents that have young children and really don't know a lot of these things or are asking about health and safety, you can always tell them they can make a PDIS account and just kind of watch some of these trainings. There's a lot of stuff on there. Some parents want to know a lot. Okay, top 10 center licensing violations. So items labeled keep out of reach of children. Finding soap that doesn't say that is very hard. I think soft soap is the only one I know of that doesn't say keep out of reach of children. All staff must complete standard precautions training annually. All staff must submit a medical statement within 30 calendar days and then an annual health statement. Again, just that paperwork piece. All staff need to complete disaster preparedness training. They need to complete child abuse training. Not improving health or fire inspections. Indoor, outdoor materials must be safe, sturdy, free of hazards. That's something that I see a lot in family childcare homes and in centers. Especially if you're located like within the city. I've seen people find needles, condoms, a lot of crazy trash, beer bottles, broken glass. You really want to make sure that you're checking the outdoor space, especially if it's somewhere on a busy street. So that is something that I've seen pretty often that is like a real safety hazard. Background checks are missing, emergency drills, tornado drills, fire drills, and that the emergency medical authorization is updated annually. So again, out of a lot of these, most of them are like paperwork type of things and trainings. Record keeping tips for licensing. So you can use a digital calendar with alerts. That would help if your annual visit's coming up, or that they're coming out, the public health department's coming out to look at the temperature of your refrigerators. Usually public health department comes once a year and then licensing comes once a year. So you just want to make sure that that's on your calendar. Performing internal audits quarterly. If there's somebody that is an employee of yours that wants to learn more about early childhood, this is a great thing to give them to do. Here's the checklist. Go through all the files and make sure that we have everything for every student and every staff member. That can really help to just kind of delegate some of that. And then communicate early with parents and staff. Give everybody enough time to submit the physical they're missing or the immunization form or whatever that may be so that they are able to get that to you. All right, so we're going to not do this activity. So licensing paperwork audit for children and staff. I want you guys to put in the chat one of the things that we talked about that would probably be missing. What would you get written up for from licensing for not having? Just put it in the chat. Training for child abuse. It's a lot of trainings. Background checks, definitely. Everybody else just fell asleep. Okay. All right. Aha! Fire drill log. Yeah. Right. Good job, ladies. Okay. This is just kind of an example of an employment record. We will also talk later in this training, I think it's the last week, about different data management tools that you can use to keep the staff information and the child's information. There's a couple different types of software that can help you kind of keep that sorted out so that you don't mess up if you get audited by licensing. Here's just an example of what a training spreadsheet might look like. This is definitely something you could do in Excel. And once you make something like this, you would just like keep it updated or keep different tabs of like, okay, I know John and Sarah and Joe all need child abuse training every June. So I have a tab for that, in my Excel sheet that tells me, oh, it's June. That's what needs to happen. Which seems like a lot of work, but if you just keep it updated, it helps. Because there's a lot of trainings. Yes. Cool. This is just for same thing, like licensing paperwork audit for children. Do they have emergency contacts? This is what they need. This is who their guardians are. Medical information, pickup information. And if you guys have a database that's really helpful for early childhood, it will have like spots for all this stuff in the database. Hospital preference, all this other stuff. So this is kind of an example of like a physical form that you would need to have for each child. Here's another example of a general health appraisal form. Sometimes doctors' offices have their own form. Licensing doesn't have a form that you have to use, but it will generally look like this of just, are there any health concerns? What provider would you want them to go to? The provider's signature, the child is in decent health, things like that. So you can put that in their file. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about HR. It's very exciting. Even if you only have one employee, you still need to have some HR policies down because that is very helpful. Where to find the forms? The forms are on the childcare licensing website. Raul, will you put a link to the CDEC licensing administration website? I think it's also in your guys' materials as well for the class, but you can find different forms on there. Okay. So key employment laws to know. There's federal laws, which are like the national ones that everybody has to follow, and then there's some that are Colorado specific. So the federal laws have like wages, hours, the ADA pieces of reasonable accommodation. So how are you accommodating your staff with whatever needs they might have? There's anti-discrimination laws, and that's also important for you guys to know. I find it difficult to find specific forms I need. Yeah, that's fair. Lori, when you make an advising session with me, tell me what you're looking for, and I will come to that session with some examples for you. It can be difficult, I know.
Sounds great.
Yes. Luckily, there's not a lot of forms where like you have to use this one. Like, there's just not a lot of that because there's just not a lot of uniformity. But yes, just give me a list. I will find that. Okay, anti-discrimination laws and then FMLA, which is that job protected leave. That basically means that you can leave for a variety of reasons, and then you will come back to a job that is similar to the one that you had before, but you're not guaranteed the same position. So if you have a teacher that leaves for FMLA and she's an infant teacher, you might only be able to have her come back and be a toddler teacher. Like it just has to be kind of similar, and that's what is protected under the FMLA. For Colorado, we recently passed the family, which is paid family leave. So if you need to take care of a parent, if you need to take care of a child, if you need medical stuff, this kind of helps you get paid for that time, and it's a state-run program. And then there's also the retirement savings account through Colorado also. So these are kind of the main things you need to know, and some things do change. So in Denver specifically, the minimum wage goes up every year, and it goes up like some percentage of an amount of what inflation is. So this year in Denver, I think it's 1989, 1929. See, I should know this, and I don't right now. My brain is tired, but it's gone up like quite a bit, and it will go up incrementally every year just to keep up with inflation. But if you didn't pay attention to things, then you wouldn't know that. So that's the kind of stuff you have to pay attention to that's happening like locally and at a state level and at a federal level. Why do you need HR policies? So the policies that you make for your staff handbook and for your parent handbook are what outlines the expectations of your program. And some of those things also set the culture for what you want your program to feel like. So if you do leave for domestic violence victims because you have a staff member that might need that, like that really sets the tone for how well you're caring for your employees. And then for parents, if you have flexibility or if you have, they need to be here on this time wearing these things or they can't wear white on mud day or whatever policies you want to put in place, it also kind of sets the tone for what your program is going to look like. But at least everybody has the same expectations, and that's what's important. Consistent decision making. I know the directors hate policies, and I know owners don't like it either, and I know that it's like super boring. But if you have a policy for something, then you can always blame the policy. Even if you own the program, like I'm so sorry, but our policy is that children aren't accepted in the middle of the day, or children can't come in more than 15 minutes late because it's disruptive to the children's learning. Or, we have a policy that we're not responsible if a child leaves their favorite toy here. I'm so sorry. Like you have those policies and that's what you can fall back on so that it's not about I said and you said. It's more of like, this is the policy. I'm so sorry, but like, this is what it is. And that's also why you want your parents and staff to sign off on your policies, that they understand them. So it helps with that consistent decision making, and it also helps the protection of you so that you don't have to like get too much in a fight about the policies, because that is what the policy is. It doesn't matter that you made it. That's what the policy is. You could look at changing it. We could talk about why this policy exists. We could talk about changing it in some other kind of way if we can get a group together that wants to talk about that. But it does just kind of give you something to fall back on, and that can be very helpful. It also provides legal protection. So if I say in my family handbook, like I'm not responsible for toys that are left overnight on the premises, or lost belongings are not the responsibility of Little Toes program, then that's what it is. And that can also give you legal protection also. So if a child comes and they bring their passport to show the class for some reason and they leave it there and it gets lost, they can't really come after me because in the handbook it says that you're not responsible for child's belongings. And then it also adds a level of professionalism. So whether you're a family childcare home or a smaller program or a larger program, it just adds a level of setting the expectations that you take it seriously. And that's kind of one of the differences between FFN care and family childcare homes, is that you're really setting up a program and you want to be taken seriously and be respected for all the hard work you guys put in. So you want to have that level of professionalism. So that's really important as well. So creating a staff handbook. It might sound overwhelming, but it's also just kind of what would you expect out of staff? Again, you can find lots and lots of templates online. Part of the hard part is just getting started. Once you get started and you have an outline of what's in the handbook, then you can kind of fill in whatever you want. But I know people trying to start from scratch, like that can be real rough. So you can look at examples online. You could ask AI, like, give me a table of contents for a parent handbook for a childcare center, and then we'll give you a table of contents. And then you just write all those policies through. There are some things that have to be in there, and I think we'll get to that in a minute, like non-discrimination, PTO if you offer that, all those kinds of things. In this parent handbook, you want to do discipline, diapering, emergency response, where your reunification site is, what you do if there's a lost child, all that other kind of stuff. But you definitely want to, keep those things where they are. You can also keep your procedures separate from your handbook. So the procedure policies are really like how you're going to do things and just general things. So we have our policies around, we do a fire drill once a year. Great. Your procedure is when we do a fire drill, we take all the children from this side of the building and move over this side of the building because this is more safe in a fire, or we move them out to the sidewalk, wherever that may be. So the policy is really the broad thing, and then the procedures are how exactly that's done. You might change procedures more often than policies. So it can save you some time to kind of have those separate. So you might have like, emergency disaster policies. This is what we do. We do this once a year. We do tornado drills every quarter. We do, active shooter drills every quarter. Whatever that may be, and you want to make sure that that's in accordance with the licensing mandates that you do. And then the actual procedure is for an active shooter drill, we take the children over here or whatever that is. But the staff need to know that and the families need to know that as well. And then before sharing your handbook with employees, consider having it reviewed by an HR consultant or a legal expert just to make sure it's solid. I know that that can be expensive, but it's worth it if that is how you're going to start your program or you just want it revised. Maybe some things have changed. I haven't seen childcare directors that have handbooks from 1989 and they're printed and there's no electronic copy. And so that's always a good time. Don't be like that. Put it online. Have an electronic copy. Make sure that you're like refreshing things more often than that. Because I couldn't even help her with it without retyping the whole thing again. So just make sure your stuff is like refreshed and up to date. But yes, once you've created that, or maybe you want to revise it every 5 years or every 3 years, just spring for a legal expert to look through it because you don't want to say anything that might hurt you in the long term.
Do you have any anyone or any recommendations for someone like an HR consultant or legal expert?
Um, you could look for lawyers that review policies. I can also look through it just to make sure that it's in accordance with licensing and that it has all the things that licensing makes sure that you have. But still, it's good to just find a lawyer that can do it. Send me
Okay.
an email before we have our advising session, and I'll see who I can contact that does that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so there's lots of free resources. There's Brightwheel, they have handbook templates. There's a lot of handbook templates. The thing is, like some of those organizations, like Brightwell is a national organization, so they might not have Colorado specific policies that you would need to have in there just according to HR rules. So you can find lots of templates. It's really just matching up the policies and procedures you've outlined and making sure that you're incorporating all of the state specific things into it, as well as what you want for your own specific program. So lots of licensing templates. As your business grows, you might want to explore topics like hiring, onboarding, offboarding, handling conflict. I've seen a couple like mediation policies, especially in larger programs where teachers like seem to have more contention between each other. Just that they will sit down and they will have a third party try to mediate a conversation with them. Like it doesn't have to be like mediation or conflict resolution doesn't have to be a policy in your handbook, but it's good if it is. Our policy is that if Bella and I aren't getting along, that Bella and I agree, as per our staff handbook, that we will sit down and we will work with a third party to really like try to work out whatever our issues may be. You can have people do that. If that's a policy of your program, that's great. And if you're a new staff member and you're reading that, it's like, wow, okay, like they're really trying to work things out here instead of just not even having a policy and then something happens. So it's important to just kind of think about those things. Other times people put like PD policies in there. Like PD needs to be, there's 10 hours that are mandated every year that the director chooses, and then the employee can choose 3 of their own credit hours to take in whatever subject they want. Anything like that. But it really does shape like your culture and how your team feels. It's very different for people if, Bella's going to tell me I have to take these 15 classes every year, so I never get to pick, and I'm just doing what every other teacher in my whole school is doing. Or if she's like, I'll pay for these 6 basic classes, you have to take these same ones you always have to take every year. But if you find a great art training you want to do, or a science training you want to do, or whatever, you have the freedom to choose something that's meaningful to you. So it really does kind of shape your culture. And then remember your SBDC advisor can help connect you to trusted, affordable HR tools and guidance. I think we also still have an HR advisor on staff. Raul, who is the HR person?
Yes,
Courtney.
Courtney.
I
Courtney,
love
and
Courtney.
we actually got a new person coming in who also does a lot of similar things and has a few other skill sets like upskilling and really thinking about how to so a lot of like the retention stuff that you have gone over and other things. And this other person coming is also bilingual Spanish and English in case anybody prefers Spanish. So
Cool. So currently you can make a meeting with Courtney. Courtney's great. I haven't met the new person yet, but it's very exciting. Also, Courtney's great. All the advisors at the SBDC are really nice. So it's nice. It seems kind of scary to be like, I have a meeting with this financial advisor. It's gonna be fine. They're all really nice. They're just trying to help. It's great. So Carolina, Courtney might be the person that could kind of review that for you just from that perspective. And then I can help you from like a licensing perspective if you want me to do that. Cool. Okay. So like I said, make an advising session with me. Do come with questions. I have people show up and they're just like, hi. I'm like, hello. And then they don't know what we're supposed to talk about. And I'm like, well, where are you at? How are you doing? What do you need? So if you come with questions like, oh, yep, okay, so this, policy question, or what can I put as this procedure, or this is where I'm at, where do we kind of go? From that first advising session, then we can figure out like, oh, Courtney would be a good fit for you. See Courtney and Jesse. Like I said, it's not limited to how many advising hours you can have, and there's like a lot of knowledge in this organization. So take the time to really make those connections because it's very helpful and it's free. So do that because it's free. Yes. Okay. I feel like that is the end of my slideshow. So I'm going to go back to the beginning.
can you click that real quick? The register for the that link right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Is this what you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of the advisors are there that are childcare certified and who you can set up advising sessions with. Start with Dora. And then once you have a session booked with Dora, you can schedule any session with any of these people for after your meeting with Dora. But you can schedule them out right away and get on their books because some of them are very, very busy. And they all have some very unique, awesome skills and things to help you with, depending on what
Courtney.
business needs are. Yeah, there's Courtney right there. Legal is a little bit trickier. If you would like to schedule with somebody that is a legal advisor, we have 2 on our team, which is very rare for centers. And they will meet with you. They will only educate. They cannot offer legal advice. That's breaching the client, what is it called? Relationship. And so they can't say like, you should do this with your business or whatnot and give you specific advice, but they can talk about, this is good information to know and whatnot. And Samantha specifically does intellectual property. So if you have a product or service that is, you want to get it like trademarked or copyrighted and you have questions about that, is it not working?
I was just trying to figure out how to put the link in the chat, but then it felt like it was hard.
Yeah, I put it in the chat. I'll do it again right now.
Okay.
And it's also, you also have all 3 slide decks with this at the very end of the slide. So, yeah, in the last email I sent you guys, the slide decks are there along with this link. And I'll repost it several times. Every email recap, I'll make sure I get this to you. And I'll put it in the chat here shortly as well. But definitely get that going and schedule with Dora, like bare minimum, even if you're not doing PDIS credit through this program, schedule with Dora. And then there might be somebody else that she will recommend you to see as well. Because what's the whole point of this?
See, somewhere we lost them. They were like, yes. And then they all
get help.
Yes.
For what? For what?
And use our resources.
Why do you need help? What's the point of getting help?
Expand our business, learn more about our business, discover everything we can.
Yes, grow your business. That's the whole point of this, right? Is to make sure, and I don't know where everybody's at. I'm actually going to go into that a little bit shortly here. But childcare is not easy right now. maybe hopefully some of you are doing okay, but there's a lot of childcare businesses that are struggling out there right now, right? And so yeah, get help. Any other questions about what Dora went over so far before I start going into my stuff? Legal, so she went over legal structure, right? Just curious, do y'all have a legal structure yet? If you don't, can you drop that in the chat to say not yet?
It seems like we have a good mix of people that are in business and people that are looking to start a business.
Okay. If you don't have a legal structure yet, whether it's sole proprietorship or whatnot, which one do you think you're going to get based on what she went over? Sole proprietor, LLC, Samia, not yet. Perfect. And you guys do already, what do you have? LLC? Are you sole proprietor? Are you a corporation? Carolina LLC, awesome. Good protection. How about everybody else? Lori, I know we worked with you about a lot in Leading Edge, but nonprofit. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Childcare. How about as far as your legal entity? Do you know what you've decided on there or have? And then if you don't know yet, that's okay, right? That's okay. So
I'm a sole proprietor as a family childcare home provider,
okay,
but when I look at going to a business, I'm definitely looking at an LLC.
perfect. Okay. And one, so be thinking about that and maybe even talk to somebody about that. The biggest thing, like most businesses end up with an LLC, right? Because they want that asset protection, that liability protection. So if you have your home, but if you have assets outside of that that are not associated with the home care, it might even still be a good thing to get into the LLC sooner than later, because that'll help protect those other assets that are not liable, right? So what else did we go over? HR. What was one thing that stood out in the HR stuff that's making you think like, oh, I got to do this? Yeah, that's one thing I need to do or I want to do.
I was excited to hear that there is a difference between a policy book and having a written procedure, that it didn't all have to be the same.
100%. Yeah, it's weird, right? Like you just think automatically those are the same thing. Handbook and policy are not the same, right? What else? Anything else stand out to anyone for the HR? What about business insurance? What's one takeaway that somebody has as far as the business insurance piece?
I definitely want to look into that a little bit more because I do have insurance, but I had a very hard time getting insured, and I just wasn't sure if it's like the right fit for me.
Totally understand. Yeah, and sometimes it's good to talk to somebody, a different company, right, and just get some different perspectives on that, or even talk to an advisor. That's something that you can connect with Dora on and get some insight, and maybe she could potentially refer you to somebody else or another advisor that has some deeper insights on insurance. Just depends on what your needs are. Jesse would potentially be a good person to connect with on that as well, because he has very general knowledge, but because he brings in some of the financial, it kind of all connects, right? Okay, so anything else that's just a big takeaway for you that or something that you enjoyed learning about? I mean, that was fire, right? Like if you got something out of this, can you just put a fire emoji in the chat? Because Dora is amazing.
Otherwise,
Like,
I'm
one
just
of
gonna
my
assume you guys
favorite.
were unconscious. I'll be like, I put them all to sleep. I did my
No,
job.
no. Dora is one of my favorite teachers to work with because she doesn't do that. Like she keeps it entertaining and interesting, and just
That's
like casual and right. So yeah, props for Dora. We can just give her some props in there.
I thought I see some fire emojis. Otherwise, I'm just gonna learn
Yeah,
that I'm not
yeah,
as funny as
fire
I think
emojis.
I am, and that's I'm
Or you
gonna
guys
cry.
didn't think it was fire? That's okay too. Yeah, I don't want you
I
to
don't
learn.
know how to put a fire emoji in the chat because I'm technically
Oh,
challenged.
that's a tough one.
So
Okay.
I'm giving you a verbal fire.
There
Thank
you
you.
And
go. There you go.
thankfully, it's not a dumpster fire.
That's well, I've seen those too, but not today.
Not today.
Okay, that's a good one. So the reactions are in the chat. So if you go down in the bottom bar where it says chat, open that up, and next to your name or what you would do is like go. There's like a little smiley face right at the bottom
Oh, there
of
I
that.
see it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then you just click that, and all the emojis are there. Boom.
Mhm.
You can put the mad one, when something ticks you off.
We're
There's a
getting
poop. There's
fancy
a
here.
poop
If we've learned
emoji.
nothing else, we've learned emojis tonight, and
There's a
that's
poop
important.
emoji. I mean, this is crucial Zoom
This is
stuff to,
business
to
right
be
here.
to be talking about.
It's true.
Yeah, Zoom. If you ever give a webinar, come see me first because I know what good ones look like and what not good ones look like, and I can help with that. Anyways, awesome. We got some fire. Let's go. All right. So I do want to go over a couple little housekeeping things before we finish off here for the night. You can do GIFs too, as Dora has shown. So
Fancy.
she's cracking up. All right, Dora. Let me see. Actually, I'll go ahead and share. No, actually, do you mind sharing the slides and going back to the beginning, like the PDIS, those first two slides? That'll be awesome. I think the first one is a pre-assessment. So I have this link here actually. So I'm gonna just drop this. Almost everybody here has done this already, which thank you so much for being proactive here. But if you haven't done this yet, can you just click that link and just run through the pre-assessment really fast? It's really, really simple. You're just clicking numbers like how confident do you feel doing this? How's your knowledge in this? You just click that really fast. And then once you're done working on that, just give me a thumbs up or a one in the chat, and then we'll move forward. Okay. So I think almost all of you here have done that. So if you're just, I did, yes, yeah, most of you have done that. I do see the list here, but I do want everybody here to just get it done really fast. So I think like vast majority have finished it. I'm going to keep talking while you are finishing that pre-assessment because it's pretty simple to cover. Can you go to the next slide, Dora?
Yes. You want to go back?
Oh, back actually, yeah. Okay, PDIS. So as our last person's working on that pre-assessment. So PDIS and Colorado Shines, QRIS quality ratings, right? So for the PDIS, who here is looking to get PDIS credit? Just put a one in the chat if you're looking to get PDIS credit. Okay, Lori, awesome. And awesome. Who else? And who's not sure? Just like if you're not sure, you can just unmute yourself and be like, I'm not sure. Maybe if you're brand new, Samia.
Can you say the question? Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, the PDIS. So if you see here on this slide, can you see Dora sharing her screen? Maybe the screen's not being shared right now.
Can we see my screen?
Can you see Dora's screen share of PDIS?
Yeah, already I have a PDIS.
You have a PDIS account.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking to get credit for
Yeah.
this program? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got at least three of you. Fabiola and Carolina, what about y'all? Are you hoping to get PDIS credit for this?
Yeah, I do have my PDIS. I think I sent my email.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Excuse me.
Fabiola, you don't have one. Okay. So
How-
Fabiola, so what you can do is really simple. You just go into these slides. Probably grab the link here as well shortly. And you just you create an account. It's really simple. It's free and it's easy to create. And then once you do this program and your 3 advising sessions minimum, so meet with Dora, meet with Jesse for financials, meet with Dora again before the end of the program, and you're going to get PDIS credit. I think you get 6 credits. I think I don't remember the exact number, but you're going to get credits for the program. And Dora, can you explain better what PDIS is and why this is a good thing and important?
Yes, I could definitely do that. I was waiting. I was just going to watch you stumble through that just to entertain myself, but I'll do it too. That's fine.
Thank you.
So PDIS is the Professional Development Information System. So it's basically like your ECE, like your personnel file, kind of. Like it's your account of what trainings you've taken. You put the number of hours you've worked in early childhood in there. You put the places you worked in there, anything like that. But that's where you get to a level, like, you know how you have to be a certain PDIS level to be a director? That's how you kind of get through those levels. So the more points you get in PDIS because you take trainings, you can take PDIS online trainings. Like if you take the Shake and Baby training through PDIS, you'll get credits for that. The more credits you get, the higher of a level you are. So it's basically just like, you know how there's like a high school graduation, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. It's kind of like that, but for ECE professional development. So it's really helpful to have that. Sometimes there are tax incentives that are tied to that. So if you're like a family friend and neighbor person or caregiver and you have a PDIS account at a certain level, you can get like a big tax rebate this year. So it's helpful for that kind of stuff. And your employers can see it and know what levels you're at. So that's definitely a good step to do that if you haven't already done that. Because that's really tracking, you know, I have 10,000 hours of early childhood experience. All of that is uploaded in PDIS. And all of your certificates and all your trainings, all that stuff, it's basically like your professional development information system on like what professional development you have in your experience. So you definitely want to do that. Anything in ECE, like you want to have one of those. And it's free. And if you have a parent that's like, I want to learn more about infants, they can create one too and be like, here's PDIS. You go on, you make an account, and you can get like really, there's probably at least 100 trainings online in PDIS. There's a lot of stuff. But it's free to anybody. But especially if you work in early childhood, you really want to have one of those because all these things count as credits, which give you, you know, higher and higher levels.
Awesome. So you definitely articulated that much better than I could have. Can you also explain Colorado Shines, QRIS, and what's going on with that right now, and who can still get some QRIS credits?
Okay, so the state doesn't have a lot of funding, and so they have paused Colorado Shines. Colorado Shines is basically a quality improvement system. So like hotels have like a 2-star rating, a 3-star rating, a 4-star rating, a 5-star rating. That's basically what Colorado Shines is for early childhood programs. That program doesn't have money right now to do the ratings, so they're going to be paused for like a year, maybe 2. So that quality metric is paused. So if you do open a program, you can get to a level 1 or 2. They're trying to come out with some new ways. I mean, it's really like an ever-changing thing at this moment based on how much funding they have and how many people they can get to work on it. But it's basically the quality levels for a program. And so when you take this business training, you used to get points for the quality of your program. But since Colorado Shines is kind of paused right now, you still definitely need it for the business experience and education, but it's not counting towards Colorado Shines because Colorado Shines is paused for probably 18 months or so.
Awesome. So I think still worth like signing up for that if you haven't done so already.
Yes.
Just to have you're in the system, right? Because it's gonna restart at some point, and they'll be going through and doing those licensing checks and whatnot, gradings. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think you mentioned this right now too. But if you are level 1 or 2, you can this still counts to get points to help you. But beyond that, it's not gonna really assist you. Is that right, Dora?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you're brand new to the Colorado Shines, definitely start your account. And then you will also get either 1 or 2 points towards this, the QRIS. Depending on if you do 3 advising sessions, you'll get 1 point. If you complete the program and do 4 advising sessions or more, you can get 2 points. So something to keep in mind there. If you are brand new to this, definitely worth doing more than 3 advising sessions. And in general, the more advising sessions you do, the more you see impact on your business growth, revenue, all of that, because you're constantly getting the accountability. I can't harp on enough how important advising is. It's more important than this program is, to be honest, because that's where you get in the trenches and do the little fine details on your business, and you get the support, and you get to, right? So that's really where that happens. Okay, so that's that piece. Now I think we're done on the slide stuff, but I've got a
I
couple
would
more.
say, having done this training, I don't even know how many times, the PDIS, that's great. Definitely do that. You should have that anyway. The cloud assurance piece, I mean, it's great that it's there. That's great. But also, like, the real value in this is focusing on your business and having these advisors. Like, yeah, that's nice. I wouldn't do this just because it's PDIS. I mean, you can start out that way, that's fine. But I think, like, the depth of knowledge and advising you'll get through this is really what is helpful. That's it. That's for sure. I might be
100%.
biased, but I'm pretty sure.
No, that's 100%. I mean, that's the key. Like mentorship is the key to growth, right? Okay, so Dora mentioned earlier that, we have these materials all in Spanish as well. Does anyone prefer Spanish that I can just have make a note? If that's you, just drop it in the chat, or you could private message me. And then that way I can send you all these slides and everything in Spanish as well, just to make sure you have that available. And there are a couple of advisors that do speak Spanish as well. If that's not you, that's totally cool. And thank you to those that finished doing the pre-assessment. We've got everybody in here on there. That's awesome. That's a record, I think, for centers. I'm a little competitive, y'all. So I'm curious also, like, what stage of business are you at? So I think for the most part, most of you said couple in the beginning. Some of you are like maybe stabilizing. Is anyone here like, I'm doing pretty good, I just need to grow? I'm looking either to expand or scale and just start crushing it. Who's in that camp, if anyone? Fabiola, you prefer Spanish. Awesome. So I'll make a note of that, okay? And I'll send you those things in Spanish.
I think I'm there, but I'm not sure if like I qualify for I'm crushing it. But I mean,
You're
I would
probably
like to
crushing
think I am.
If you feel like you're doing well and like you're looking to grow, that's huge, right? So, and this is good to know. And the reason why I say this is when you schedule that first session with Dora, like, not only bring questions to her, but let her know where you're at. Because that's really gonna change how she attacks, the problems and the things that you're facing, right? So good to know, Carolina. And also, there are opportunities for sharing. And if you have some insights, like something comes up, like maybe next session or the marketing, and you're doing some things that you think help to make your stuff successful, share that with the group so that other people can learn here that are in the early stages. We're part of K-12 private school. We're doing well with increasing enrollment. Awesome. Great. And so, yeah, that would be great, at some point too. Like, if you could share some things that are helping, definitely do that, right? We want to lift all groups here. Most likely you're not in the same area and you're not really competing. So a couple more little things here and we'll call it a night. Can you just post in the chat, what is your either top challenge or top 3, up to 3 challenges that you're facing right now that you think these are my biggest problems? It's getting more customers, it's operations, it's scheduling, hiring, and retaining staff. Like, what are your top 1 to 3 challenges? Again, so we can get a good framework for where this group is at and speak to some of those issues as we go along. And if you feel like you don't really have a challenge right now, maybe you're brand new, you're not starting, you just don't know what you don't know yet. That's okay too. Just put, what are you hoping to get out of this? What's your biggest result or outcome that you're hoping to gain by doing this program? Just post that. I'll give you guys a couple minutes. And then I got one more thing for you. We'll finish it up. Call it a night. Financials. Can you expand on that a little bit, Carolina? Like, what do you mean by that? Is it your books? You need help like cleaning up your books. You have everything documented well, but you don't know what to do with it. What decisions to make based on that?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Like, I've never had to do books, so I'm kind of learning as I go. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So that's good. Definitely bring that to this your session with Dora. And then obviously you're going to want to talk with Jesse as well to expand on that. Are you looking to gain capital at all? Are you looking like to get like a loan from a bank to grow certain things, or not really worrying about that piece of it?
I am hoping to maybe pull a loan just to do a few things that I would like to do.
Okay, great,
To
great.
increase like what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get um more preschoolers because I'm going through UPK. But I think I'm not I don't appeal so much to like the older children. Like parents sometimes want to go to a school rather than with an in-home provider, but I could provide just as um, the same quality as a school does because I worked for the school districts, so I know where they need to be and what how to get them there. So I just think I need to. Yes, I want to do a little bit more.
Perfect. That's awesome. So yeah, that already starting to expand. Like, okay, yeah, definitely going to talk to Jesse for financials. Definitely probably going to talk to maybe Diego for marketing because and this is common with in-home, right? Like there's just this perception of quality maybe for some parents, and that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes like in-home is like way higher quality because you're so much more connected to it and whatnot. But yeah, got to overcome some of the perceptions sometimes. So that could be a marketing conversation. And then definitely bring up the desire for like getting a loan with and talking to Jesse about that and Dora so that they can like help frame, okay, what's the reason, make sure that it truly is like a valid reason. And then if it is, like get you starting to get your financials, your books in the right place to have a business plan that's going to be bankable. That's like, it's pretty difficult actually, but it's doable. It's just, there's little pieces you got to have getting to go in there. Okay. My physical limitations, doubts of being successful. Yeah. Mindset's huge, right? Like, I know Dora can talk a lot to that. Dora, if you feel like you want ever extra support with that, you can always refer Lori even to meet with me. Mindset is a big thing that's something I do. Fabiola, looking to start but don't know how to start. Perfect. Yeah, that's sometimes just the hardest thing is like, what do I do? What do I do first, right? And there's so much, and then you get stuck in this paralysis. So definitely get with Dora. Finding and retaining excellent teachers. Such a tough thing in this industry, right? Retention. So yes, get with Dora. She's huge on that too, talking about culture and retention strategies. Great. So this is really good. We're feel like I'm getting to know y'all, and another great place that you can do that is in the Facebook group. So we just started a Facebook group this last cohort. So it's very tiny, the amount of people that are in there. We're not doing a ton of things in there yet with anyone, but the opportunity is there to kind of start to connect more with your peers, start to connect more with us and put stuff in there. And the more you're sharing wins and questions and resources, we're just going to build this awesome culture and community of childcare businesses. That's the whole point of this. So just if you have a Facebook, jump in there. Here's the link for that. And I'll share all of this stuff again in the follow-up email. So really want to start about how to start in soul base of my business early child care center. I feel like I need the guide. 100%. Yeah, guidance is just so crucial, right? Support, especially at the beginning. So you're in the right place, Samia. Any other things that you want to just say, Dora, just to cap it off here?
I think that's it. I mean, I think I'm excited for you guys to kind of go through this and do like really engage, ask questions. Whatever question you have, probably 5 other people have that question. But we learn a lot from each other, and it's good to kind of talk about things because whatever question you have, maybe nobody else knew they even had that question. It's a lot of like context in this industry, so it's a lot of stuff.
Awesome. I think that's good. Thank you all so much. If you have any questions, reach out and we'll see you on the next one.
I'll see you guys between now and the next one in an advising session. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much.